Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. This is still Sunrise coming to you from Lagos. As the global climate emergency intensifies and greenhouse gas emissions continue to grow, governments will gather in Madrid for the United Nations Climate Change Conference, known as COP25, from December 2nd to the 13th, to take the next crucial steps in the UN climate change process. The conference will take place under the presidency of the government of Chile and will be held with logistical support from the government of Spain. People think that this climate change thing is a joke. They should come and ask us in Nigeria. We have seen rains like we've never seen before, and we have seen heat like we've never seen before. Ask Desmond Majekodumi. Well, he's right here, so you can ask him. Desmond Majekodumi is an environmental activist. Good morning, Desmond.
Good morning, and I'm smiling. I'm taking a leaf from the page of the book of Ezekiel, who helped you to open the show this morning. He was smiling, and I am smiling. I'm happy. Despite.
Despite. We also have the Secretary of the Human and Environmental Development Agenda, Mr. Sulaiman Aribabu.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Good morning. Thanks for coming. Now let me begin with the environmental bishop.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So, how much is Nigeria doing to reduce emissions? Are we doing anything at all?
That's a very good question. And that's part of the reason why I'm smiling. And it sounds like a contradiction because I'm smiling because our house is on fire.
And we don't know.
Our house is actually on fire. It is, it is. The house called Planet Earth. It is on fire. Look, 2 days ago, the World Meteorological Organization, an esteemed branch of the United Nations, released a report to say that we are not on track to reduce the global warming, which, if it continues for just another 8 years, maybe 10 at the most, like this, will trigger off catastrophic and unstoppable consequences for the planet. Catastrophic and unstoppable. The house is on fire. So why am I smiling? Luckily, it's a slow fire. It's a slow burn.
But you know, slow fires burn deep.
That's the thing. That's the thing. And the danger of it is, it's like the house is on fire, there's a keg of petrol there, and if the fire reaches the keg, it blows up. But what gives me optimism is that we're all in this house with all our differences. Oh, you are from there, you are from here, you have this, you have that, all our differences and all the different nuances and so on. We need to come together and do the right thing, do enough.
Kill the fire.
And kill the fire before the fire kills us and our children. So is Nigeria doing enough? No, not at all. Nigeria is not the only country that's not doing enough. The whole world, most countries in the world are not doing enough, despite the European Union declaring state of emergency on the environment. We need to do far, far more.
Sulaiman, isn't it a pity that many people still believe, or many people still don't believe, that this danger exists?
Yeah, and
I'm ashamed to say, including President Trump.
Well, really, it's quite unfortunate that the biggest emitter in the world and the biggest economy in the world is headed by somebody who is a climate denier. But nonetheless, there are the biggest states in the U.S. are, part of this journey. They have seen the need that we should act on this. But what baffles more is that come to the level of Africa, come to citizens, not even at governmental levels. And you imagine that everybody is complaining when the rains come down. Oh, there's so much rain, there's so much flooding. And then when the heat is here now, and it really is here, we're all complaining that it's hot. But we do not locate ourselves in why all of this thing is happening. So because we want to continue with business as usual, and we are hoping and praying that this circumstance, this COP will pass us by. No, it's not going to happen. We brought ourselves to this state. We have to use our hands to reverse, to stop the fire that the environmental bishop has talked about. We can't wish it away. We can't pray it away. We did things physically. We polluted physically. We cut down trees physically. We did so many things we shouldn't do. Every day we're emitting carbon monoxide into the atmosphere through our transportation, through our energy. So we need to make conscious, and no effort is small. Because every little effort, every little commitment one person makes, you can, if you imagine it on a global scale, then we'll have some impact. There's nothing that's going to happen, even if all governments are committed. The real commitment first has to start with we, the people. And I and the Bishop were talking before we came on stage. The last time it was evangelist, but now the ministry is growing, and we thank God for that. We're talking about how come it is that in Nigeria we've never really seen mass action. We've not seen the NMA, Medical Association, Nigerian Medical Association, for instance. We've not seen the Labour Congress come on the streets and say, climate change is a problem, let's deal with it. We are dealing with those basic existential things, no matter how serious a government we have. Whatever gains we make with any other thing we are doing, if we don't take care of the environment, it's going to reverse everything. And that is the real danger.
Desmond, a short while ago, I think about 2 months ago, a young girl, 15-year-old girl, actually led a protest that we were killing the world and they would have no future.
The young girl, Greta.
Do you think Nigerian children have a full grasp of what that was all about? Do they have a full grasp of all this talk about global warming?
They are beginning to, very, very slowly, exactly as my brother said, because the organizations that could help to sensitize them, they're not having it on their radar at all. And his suggestion is an excellent suggestion. Nigerian Medical Association should definitely be there. Labour Congress should be there. Who is the hardest hit when you have food shortage? And that's one of the first things that happens when you have environmental degradation. Food shortage. Hey, you put your crops out, they get flooded out. Hey, you try to feed your cows, the cows don't know how to eat sand, and there's no grass there because the desert has moved in. So it's the most vulnerable people that need to be sensitized. And the girl, Greta, hey, she's a serious girl. Can you imagine a 16-year-old girl coming to our House of Parliament and telling the elders, you should be ashamed of yourselves? Amazing girl. We really, really like to think that that will permeate into the various systems of education. But another group that we're targeting, and we've got quite a bit of reception so far from them, are the religious groups. Yes, the leadership of the mosques, the leadership of the churches. Because it's very clear there in Scripture. I'm not too familiar with the Quran, but I do know that people are considered to be caliphs, which is caretakers of creation. In the Bible, it's more than clear. I mean, Genesis opens up with God saying, let there be light, and he saw that it was good. Okay? So it continues at least 5 times. The Creator saw that his creation was good. At the end of creation, he saw that his creation was very good. And his representative on earth, Jesus, said, you should love God above all else. So, we're loving the Creator who saw that his creation was good, and we're destroying his creation. What manner of love is this? So anyway, the churches and the mosques, a lot of them are really coming together. And in February, we're going to do a really big thing. And hopefully, we'll get the NMA and the Labour Congress people to get involved with that as well.
Okay.
As well as channels.
We'll go for a quick break, and we'll come back to tidy up this matter about the environment. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Sulaiman, so Desmond's talked about the plan for February. I mean, there's COP and all of that. But beyond all of these talk shops, let's look at the practicality of things around. I mean, if the UN report says global greenhouse gas emissions, if it doesn't fall by 7.6%, each year between 2020 and 2030 were gone.
Yeah. We'll reach the tipping point.
The practical side of this.
Yeah.
Both the educated man out there,
Yeah.
the upwardly mobile young man, the politician. What's left?
I want to discourage people. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm trying to find how to put it now. But okay. But every human being, as the case may be.
It's glaring that if we don't do something, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
Simple.
Let's look at the practical side of it.
Yeah.
What can we do to help reduce this 7.6% each year between 2020 and 2030? What can we do?
So take for instance Nigeria. Don't let's go too far. In 2015 we submitted our intended nationally determined contribution to cutting down emission.
And we're going to submit another one for 2020.
Even that has not really, started. We are supposed to now say we are ready to start by 2020. But then Nigeria looked at we looked at public transportation. That we're going to green our public transportation, meaning that we are going to have less cars. We are going to have more mass transit. But what are we having? More Okadas, more tricycles. That's not going anywhere. We talked about agriculture. And agriculture, we know that the people who are really feeding this country are small-scale farmers. They are the people you were talking about earlier, for instance, in Adama. These are the people you really need to help survive and adapt to climate change and let them know why they need to do these things. The information is not getting to them. We talked about our energy. And you still realize that I don't know even if we are building a new country in 20 years. By now we should have gone somewhere with power supply. But we're not near there. So everybody is still on their own, with your better past my neighbor and what to do, what have you. So the problem here then is that a country like Nigeria that have said, okay, if I'm allowed to go business as usual, I can cut my emission by 20%. But if you support me with some, money and what have you, I can cut my emission by 40%. We have not started. Yes, there's a program at the office of the VP on how do we make LPGs available, liquefied petroleum gas, so that people women at the rural area, for instance, instead of having to cut down, use firewood, use charcoal. But it's still like a drop in the ocean. So it's not moving enough. Our pace does not reflect the urgency that we have, and that's where the challenge is.
That's so well said. And just a little extension of that, what Nigeria going to do at COP here, we're going to present. Nigeria needs to go to COP with the other African nations and make tremendous demands. We're the giant of Africa, and we're one of the most vulnerable countries to the effects of climate change.
Mr. Matikomi, do we realize our vulnerability?
I don't think we could. Like the girl Greta said when she was talking to them in Parliament, she said, we are facing an existential threat. This is a threat that is the biggest threat humanity has ever faced. I don't believe you understand this. Because if you understand this, and she's pointing to the people now, the decision makers, if you understood this, and you still continue doing what you're doing, because scientists have been warning us for the last 30 years, especially the last 10 years, when the various measurement systems became more accurate, that it is very serious. If you understood this and you still continued with your massive pollution, your terrible deforestation, then it would mean that you are evil. And I don't believe you're evil. So, in a nutshell, I don't believe they're evil. I don't believe they really understand. And what gives me optimism, again, like I said, I'm smiling, the house is burning, because we've got to come together. But particularly, I believe we will. Why? Because we love our children. So, I don't need to ask you, do you love your children?
Definitely.
You love your children. Of course we love. In fact, I love my children. I love your children. I mean, who doesn't love? If children came in here and started doing their little games or so, all of us would just be smiling at them. We love them. And they're so innocent and they trust us so much. So that gives you a little cause for optimism. But we need to let people know how serious the situation is.
Solomon, what is the importance of COP25?
Great. So basically there are 4 things that the COP25 needs to agree on. It needs to help the world to agree on, okay, what are the common timelines for which the NDCs should run the nationally determined contribution. We have all agreed that we want to make some emission cut. It's also a COP that is expected to convince countries to even do much more than they have promised. You know.
Wait. Before you go on to the other things that we're going to talk when we get there. So what kind of report is Nigeria going there with? Have we done anything as a result of COP24 that we said we were going to do?
Nigeria has never really been a very serious participant at COPs, most unfortunately. There have been many. We've had some, when the former minister, Amina Mohammed, was there, Nigeria put up some serious showing. I think that was in Morocco. We even had a Nigerian office, and we had our, our negotiators coming back yeah, COP21. Yes, COP21. And they even come after every negotiation, to give a feedback of what they are. That's about it. Ordinarily.
We had a pavilion, and I think you're also planning something like that again.
It didn't happen before then. It's not been happening after. So we are not really, you will see, some of us who attend some of these places, you go to major discussions and you find the Nigerian space open. If you're interested, you just sit down and just listen. Because there is even no mechanism for harvesting what efforts civil society are making. For harvesting, okay, I've attended this, can I give a feedback on what, even if I can't make a contribution, at least I heard and I could give it. So that's not there. And I think that a major thing that Nigeria should lead Africa to go and discuss, and this may sound maybe controversial or what have you, is that no matter how much the world gives, and they are not ready to give, the Green Climate Fund is supposed to be $100 billion. That's the aspiration. All the pledges is just about $10 billion, and not much of that has been given, maybe about 7 or thereabout, and that is for the whole world. Yet, Africa loses about $60 billion annually to illicit financial flow, to companies taking profit out of Africa, not paying the right taxes and all of that. And some of our leaders who are very nice take our little resources, the one we borrowed, and go and keep it in those countries that are quite receptive, but they are not corrupt. So no matter how much you do, this money that is meant to build our infrastructure in the first place and is not doing it, we can't then be getting peanuts to say help the small-scale farmers somewhere. It's not adding up. So we need to stop the big leakage. And then any help can then, be good for the patient. But if there's still hemorrhage, nothing else that you're doing will help the patient. And that's the state of Africa.
But staying there, how can we tap into the Green Fund?
So the Green Climate Fund is there for countries to put up good proposals. But my question is this, for instance. If we have not developed, the Green Climate Fund, for instance, cannot give you the kind of money that it requires to develop infrastructures that will be resilient to the changing climate countrywide. You can only have maybe, okay, we want to upgrade a particular community, maybe the energy supply, something that will help them to cut down on their emission and make them. So it will be just a little drop. And we know the processes for it. You put up proposals, you can partner with some of the INDCs, one of the international NGOs or international implementing agencies like UNDP and the rest of them. So it is there, but one of the biggest challenges Nigeria had, and some 10 years back we had a strong advocacy that Nigeria should have a climate change commission. That's a body that sits at the top of everything at the presidency level. And look at what various ministries are doing to see how compliant it is with. And this will help Nigeria. I tell you, countries like Senegal, Kenya, the Gambia, they are getting more climate fund than countries like Nigeria. Why? They are better organized. So that's another big challenge that Nigeria needs to deal with.
KSI says, Nigerian children are seriously catching up on climate change advocacy. My 11-year-old girl, Farida, constantly reminds me that we have not inherited the earth from our ancestors. We are borrowing it from our children.
Hey, Farida.
But you see, now the other side of it is, okay, Boye Adenka says, most yellow buses plying Lagos routes are worn out without trafficators, dented vehicles, badly emitting fumes that are hazardous to road users.
Inexcusable.
Inexcusable. Now, what we see here in Nigeria are little Farida. There's a man who started a radio program in Adama for farmers to educate them on pockets. In Imo State, there's another guy who started a radio program for farmers. So you have little things. And many of these individuals who are doing one thing or the other do not have any support per se. So there's no coalition of all these things. What can be done to bring all of these efforts to encourage more people and then to coalesce all of these and put it together?
Excellent question. And we have all the tools available. In fact, the major tool is the ballot box. Yeah, whether we like it or not, it is there. We can't. No. You see, the problem is the lack. I know you can manipulate this thing to an extent, but there comes a stage where we just have to come together and decide enough is enough, and we are going to ensure our vote counts. And if you have enough people who decide, okay, they're going to stand against whatever intimidation, but we're going to do it, and we're going to ensure that the people that we bring in are really going to be servants. Remember, the job description is civil servants. Whatever your cultural disposition is, you are in democracy now. You are a servant for the people. And if enough of us realize that we are facing an existential threat, we can't continue going this way with these kinds of massive leakages, with this nonchalant attitude towards the creation. I believe that we can bring in the right sort of representatives from the local government level and take it right up into the Senate, into even the presidency. Having said that, though, I must congratulate our Mr. President, because he declared in United Nations that Nigeria is going to plant 25 million trees, and there is a move in that direction. So far, it's still talk, but we're watching, and we're going to follow the money this time, because those trees must be planted, and it should be 10 times 25 million anyway.
We're going to walk the talk.
We're definitely going to even dig the ground for the talk.
So, Sulaiman, with regards to raising ambition, now, COP25 will be informed by the outcomes of the climate summit in New York in September and climate weeks in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, co-organized by the UN change this year. But collective action. Now, he's talked about what we have the power, the voters can, but that happens once in 4 years. As we speak, he also talked about going out to the religious organizations to say, talk to the people. Collective action towards that 1.5 degrees centigrade, achieving that 1.5 degrees centigrade. Again, the practical side of it.
I mean, it's we can't run away from it, but I tell you, some of the highest emitters and those who can help best to cut on emissions are private sectors. And private sector company reacts to consumer behavior. So if consumers, for instance, are aware and they are saying, no, we are not dealing with this company because we are doing that or the other, what you should not be doing, it's a lot. If government as regulators say, look, we have a commitment to cut down our emission. And really, the private sector eventually sees the benefit, because really, it pays to do the right thing, to follow a greener path, because ultimately they benefit. And those who are patronizing you live a better life, and they can patronize you more. So there is that angle to it. Then there is the angle of us making demands. Democracy should not be every 4 years. It should not be about just the ballot. It's about how we're able to organize in our various communities, how we're able to be part of deciding this is the kind of waste management system or company that we want in our community, how we unbundle this over-centralization of everything in terms of, for instance, electricity. So somebody has to sit down somewhere and decide how my community is served electricity. Why can't we decide that in our community we want an off-grid solution that is going to impact on our life, impact on the environment? These are discussions that Nigeria as a country need to have. But it's not going to happen until people really see that climate change threat is an existential one.
Mr. Sulaiman Aribabu, is any of you going to COP25, by the way?
No, but I have a presentation to give to Sulaiman, who is going to COP25.
Oh.
And I hope that you will wear this. This says, I am a creation carer. You kindly pass it on to him.
Good. So you're off to COP25.
I am caring for creation, so please wear it.
I will definitely
good
wear
luck.
this. Thank you very
And
much.
ensure that you represent Nigeria well.
Within my limited
Sulaiman Aribabu is the Secretary, Human and Environmental Development Agenda. And Desmond Majekodume is an environmental bishop.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming to talk to us about this looming danger which we don't seem to be taking seriously. Thank you. Sunrise will be right back with the home stretch in just a moment. Stay with us.